What up, People of Dreadlock? Archie here, Baldo with a 40-month update. I already got my notes and I had them ready since a couple days. It started raining outside and I was gonna wash my hair today, my dreads. But I don't like doing it when it's wet outside because then it takes a little bit longer to dry because of the moisture. So I'm gonna give it another day, find a window tomorrow, and then wash them tomorrow. It's kind of relevant though that about once a month I actually moisturize my locks, and I use a little bit of coconut oil, like just a little bit, and then I can't remember what the other stuff is, but another something like that. And I'll mix that together and I'll put it on my hair, and then I'll let my hair absorb the moisture. But it's kind of like when you moisturizing a tattoo. You moisturize the surface, it absorbs whatever it needs to absorb, and then you need to wash the excess off, right? Because then your skin has as much moisture as it needs, and then obviously you maintain that a little bit for while it heals. But you don't want to have like a caked on situation, and that's kind of what I go for with my hair when I moisturize it. Is I know I'm putting a coat of something. I know my hair could absorb a certain amount of something of that something, and then excess will become essentially residue if I let it be. So I usually moisturize one day, let that get absorbed in there, and then make sure I wash it within the day or two afterwards. So the rain kind of like blew that off, so I just wanted to throw that in there. The moisturizing thing is sometimes that, but sometimes I'll use like aloe vera because I have a plant, so I'll just put that certain places, make sure I don't get and similar thing. That one I usually just let a few hours and then I'll wash it off. So just kind of moisturize them some way. I'm realizing that my that I find dreads to not be boring. Out of all the hairstyles that I've had, this is the one where just day in day out I have not felt that I'm tired of it, because there's always something new going on. They're still growing. At this point they're mature, yet they're still doing things constantly. And like I said, at this point they're mature. This is kind of my style. They're like very messy. Once in a while I'll put rubber bands on them to group the hair, but that's about it. There's a few things I like about this simple maintenance, because it allows stuff like this to happen. Like, I had a really good example where you could just see it if I find it. Like this one, for example. It was already, like you could tell, the very beginning, and that's all mature and super tight. And then there was a point where this, or this section right here that I'm holding between my fingers, there's a point where this section looked like this. Pretty much, it had all those squiggles, but it was no loose hair. Now, because I don't maintain too much other than the rubber bands, and then the hair still gets to grow over it, I'm noticing that the texture is changing, because all those loops that were like so prominent at one point, now they're getting coated with my hair growing over it, and then that continues the process, and then you see how it's kind of changing as I hold it. Well, that's kind of what happens as it keeps going, and then eventually it'll be like this. So it almost seemed a little backwards to go from a completely tight to now hair and frizz growing over it, but I could notice it on some of the other ones where, see over here, the same process just seems a little further back because it's a bigger lock. So the tight is right there. At one point all of this was tight, and now you see hair growing over it, and eventually filling in the kinks. Like, the kinks were a lot more prominent when they were a lot younger, and at this point they're like I said, I'm liking that by leaving the hair loose and just kind of separating to certain sections, the hair does find its way to where you want it. And like I said, the texture, I'm liking the texture. I noticed it when I locked this one, that the longer the hair was to start off with, the softer You see, it's very, like, the hair is not like making sharp turns, and I attribute that to the thickness. So the thicker locks, I like how the texture just naturally seems to be a little softer. Then I did the 5 Congo over here. So 5 locks, I don't want this to join, so I'm still separating that. But after that, I think this is one of the thickest ones that I'm starting. So that's what I mean, mature, and then this is still like something completely new going on that I get to notice, acknowledge, and just kind of like watch grow as a particular of this whole thing. On the same note, when I added these two, I had my bangs, they've slowly been disappearing at this point, that's all of it. But this one started out with just a small section of hair, and I know this one's gonna get really thick because I'm incorporating anything from this point, which allows it to kind of like have the natural thing that my hair did. This one could choose, probably gonna naturally end up somewhere around there. So once again, and the part continues. There's the one that goes on this side, and then all this hair would be part of that. So with just simple separations like that allows me to just literally do that, and then the hair tends to find where it's gonna go because, like I said, the maturity takes it's a big part of it that after they mature, like your maintenance goes down for this style anyways. So liking that one, I have to point out that things starting to like just numerical for value. I started out with around 40 locks, and then taking into account I lost 2 over here for this one, and I lost 3 back here for this one. This one's growing flat, I like that. And then I braided the 2-year growth into that. It's been doing that for a while now. Then I lost 5 over here, added 2 over here. So now I know I'm at 30 something, I think. But now I want to take, like, throw out a note that this has been going on for a few months now, and I'm thinking of adding another one, but in my mind is like add it while this one's still a baby and young, so kind of like there's going to be a point where they kind of catch up. And I think that's kind of the patience of locks, like kind of like just presenting itself. I don't expect this to be like a done process, and because I already like where it's going, I'm like, maybe I want another one going on at the same time. So even though the difference is like months at this point in lock time, that to me that'd be like, oh, around the same time. If anything, at one point I think it's gonna get to, if I start something within like a year, I'm gonna call that one thing, because keeping track of little things, you lose track of it. I'm loving having these record videos because honestly I forgot a lot of things that already happened. So there was that. I think what I don't know if I mentioned it or if I skipped it over, but I made note of my hair grows pretty fast, and it grows straight because I have a straight hair. So I think that augments the appearance of length just coming down. So I'm kind of I'm not gonna say concerned, but just because length is not, I know a lot of people are like, can't wait to get the length, or they'll get extensions and all this stuff to try and get that length. I'm actually like, how do I make it slower or grow it slower because it's growing so fast? So I noticed that this lock is growing a lot slower than the 3 one back here. It's also got substantially more hair, so that's why I'm thinking like of doing that over here. Get the bigger ones and shift the length a little bit if I can. I think it'll eventually catch up. I don't know, that's like, I was thinking about that. Smaller diameter, they eventually look longer than the ones with the thicker diameter because, I was thinking about it. So, I know I don't want all big locks. Or do I don't know. That's where I'm at. Anyways, that was kind of my catch up. And this is damn pretty for the most part. is my favorite, because that'll generally keep hair out of my face. And if I'm doing anything where these things hang down, then I'll actually just put it up. And that'll usually keep things from hanging down here. Anywho, people of dreadlock, deuces. I'll see you guys around. 40 months, right? Oh.